Welcome back, everybody. We are the Offsides Zone. I'm Richie, your host. We are back with Oswald. We have Cliff, and we also have our newest member, Anu. Just introduce yourself. Just give us your team, and just a little bit about your background, where you come from.
Yeah, what's up, guys? My name is Anu. I was born in Germany. Um, I was born in Breton, but I grew up in Dortmund. And then I moved to England when I was 6 years old. And I lived in England for like 12 years. And then I've been in America since I was 18. I'm 21 now. Um, I played at Bethel University for 4 years. I graduate. I'm going to University of Tampa in the fall to play my last year playing soccer. I play on the wing and I support Borussia Dortmund.
You're
Mm.
a Dortmund fan, okay? So we got a good slate of topics for you guys today. We're gonna start our first one. Paul Pogba suffered a very unfortunate injury over this week, and this was actually in his first game back from a pretty much a lengthy injury spell. Before that. So our first question is: with Pogba's latest unfortunate injury horror, is Pogba's career over? He overachieved or underachieved in his career? We're going to let Cliff start with this question.
Uh, um, I guess first off, sorry to Pogba, big uh condolences to him for the injury that he suffered. In terms of his career, I don't want to say he underachieved because he won the World Cup, which is the biggest tournament to win. He played for Manchester United, and they won. I guess in the time he was there, they won I guess one or two trophies. Um, but I think personally, I think Pogba was a bit overrated for what he was. So that's why I don't want to say he underachieved because I think for what he played, he achieved as much as he could with the team that he had. I think for in that Juventus team that he was in, I think a lot of the hype came around. I mean, he was a stylish player. He played well, but I think most of the hype came with knowing that he had ties to Manchester United, and if there's two things that are going to get hyped in this world in terms of soccer, it's people that come from or play for Manchester United and English players. Simple as that. So I think he just got the hype because of that Manchester United link. And since then, he went back to Manchester United, and we've always expected this big, you know, resurgence or big expectations from him. And he just wasn't able to fulfill that because he's not that kind of player that you can build around and expect, him to lead you to a title. So from what he achieved, winning the World Cup, I think he achieved as much as he should have, but I don't think, he he underperformed or underachieved for what he was supposed to do personally.
All right, Oswald.
For first of all, shout out to Pogba. I've been a big fan of Pogba ever since I've seen him. I saw him in the under the U20 World Cup, where they won that tournament, and he was one of the top players in that tournament. I would say that Pogba has not underachieved. While he was at Juventus, he had players that could actually perform at the highest level compared to Manchester United. He had a world class player in Pirlo and Vidal supporting him. Those two players right there, they command so much respect. Unlike the team that he was playing with at Manchester United, where he had Schneiderlin or McTominay. Come on.
Fred.
Who even Fred? When they all retire, who are you gonna remember first of all, Schneiderlin or Pirlo? You get what I'm saying? There's levels to it. So when I watch Pogba, he's the type of player that needs a team that works hard for him, not him working hard for the team. He has never had that style of play. It has never been him to play that type of way. Um, you see how Pogba plays in France. he plays like he's literally top 3 best midfielders in the world when he's plays with France. And we all know that. We've seen it before. We've seen it in the World Cup, and we've seen it in the Euros. So for a player like him, for you to say that he's underachieved in his career, I'm sorry, but I will not accept that. I will not accept that. And I don't think his career is over. I just think that he just needs some solid players around him to build around Pogba. He's a very creative player, and he will bring lots of assists, lots of flair, lots of creativity. And that's it.
All right, Anu.
I have to disagree. I'll definitely believe that Paul Pogba's underachieved. I've known about him for a while because I grew up in England, but when he was in my United Academy, he was like, everyone's looking at, oh my goodness, this is the next big thing, like a Yaya Toure region type of player. And when he went to Juventus, obviously there was a lot of noise because he was like a player who was kind of taking on Sir Alex Ferguson and shown that, Ferguson made the wrong decision in letting him leave. And there was so much hype. In my opinion, him going to Manchester United was a complete wrong move. As you can see over the course of his career at Man United and after and before, they've ruined so many players because they're bored. They don't buy players. For example, you see Man City, they buy players who fit into a system. Man United just seems like, whoever can sell shirts for us, this is the type of player we're going to sign. So I believe he was surrounded by the wrong type of players at Manchester United. But at the end of the day, you're accountable for your own career. You can't necessarily always blame other people. And I feel like his work ethic wasn't the best at Manchester United. For example, I don't believe Pogba could have played for Pep. I don't think he had that workhorse kind of mentality. Yes, he was a flair player at Juventus. He had Pirlo around him. He had Arturo Vidal around him. But in my opinion, he could have done a lot more, could have been a lot more, I feel like, more serious, more focused. You see with France, he's a different beast, different animal. And I didn't see him have that, level of focus at Manchester United. The expectations for it was to be Yaya Toure type of player. He had all the ability, but I don't feel like he fulfilled his potential at Manchester United. And now Juventus, I think it's been telling, no one wanted him last summer when he was a free agent. Only Juventus wanted him, for free. But now he's got another injury. He's 31, 32 now. I feel like he can still play to a decent level, but he'll nowhere reach the heights we expect him to reach. And therefore, I believe his career wasn't a failure, but it's disappointing from what I expected personally.
Yeah. I totally agree with what he said. What you said about Manchester United kind of bringing in players to sell the shirts, and him making that move from Juventus to Manchester United was a mistake, because you could definitely see that with a couple of the other people they signed. And to me, Manchester United was kind of turning into a retirement club, because we saw Schweinsteiger go there at the end of his career. We saw Ibrahimovic kind of go there, right before his move to the MLS. And even most recently, you kind of saw Ronaldo go there, for his big bang, career ender. We kind of see how that turned out. Hopefully Manchester United, especially after the Ronaldo situation, it seems like they're kind of trying to move away from that, from just signing, these players at the end. But, like you guys said, prayers up to Pogba. Hopefully we do get to see him, pretty much, at the mountain on top on how he used to be as a player. But we're going to move on to the next topic. And what club needs to have a good transfer window this summer? And what are some key signings teams need to make? This is a question that's going to go across any league and any team you guys see fit. I'm going to let Cliff start with this.
Yeah, and it's funny that we were just talking about Manchester United, because I think for the longest time now, they've needed a correct striker. They've had Ronaldo in the past, but I think they need, what they really, really need this summer is a player that can not only score goals, but can facilitate for Marcus Rashford, since he's become their main star now. You have to have a striker that can also pass. And for me, I think the best passing striker and one of the best goal scoring strikers in the world right now is Harry Kane. If Harry Kane goes to Manchester United, I think they immediately become title contenders, serious title contenders with Manchester City. And, just add a few more reliable rotation pieces to that, and they become, really up there. And I think they can push for a title challenge as soon as next season if they can pull that off. It's not going to be easy because you know how Daniel Levy is. But if they can manage it, I think that would be the best signing. And that also goes for Chelsea too, if they can manage to sign Harry Kane. But I think it's more useful for United, and I think it's going to be a better fit for that squad. So Harry Kane to United, I'm pushing for it.
I don't know about Harry Kane to Chelsea. I don't know if they got the.
It can happen.
I don't know if they got the bandwidth to sign that man.
They could.
It'll be a nice
sign him. They'll probably
microscope under them. There'll be some nice heavy financial fair play questions if Chelsea were to sign Harry Kane. Anu, what do you think
about that, or like
about the signings?
Okay, so I'm a big Real Madrid fan, because my favorite player is Vinicius, so I watch a lot of their games. But man, there's so many holes in that team, and it's surprising. The team has that much money. Their owner Perez, I don't know why he's being so stingy recently with buying players. In my opinion, Real Madrid, they need a striker. You need like a 9, like an Osimhen type 9. They've needed a right winger ever since Gareth Bale left. Rodrigo, he does the job, but he's really a left winger, but he's just not good enough to take Vinny's place, in my opinion. So they need a left-footed right winger. Then they also need a right back. Carvajal, he does decent in Spurs, but man, they need a right back because if you're playing against these athletic good wingers, Carvajal's not cutting it. Then they also need a left back because, as you can see, Mendy is not technically good enough, in my opinion. And then Alaba came out the other day saying he doesn't want to play left back, and then we all know about Camavinga, he doesn't want to play left back too. So I feel like Real Madrid need 4 or 5 really good signings this summer. I'm really disappointed that Mbappe didn't end up going because I feel like he could have been the perfect solution, long-term striker. Then also other team, I think Arsenal, they need depth. You can see end of the season, Saka and Martinelli were kind of getting worn out. I think they need depth in the winger spots. And then they also need a 9, like Osimhen again. Because the problem is there's not a lot of world-class strikers available right now. But Jesus is a good 9, but he can only play one style of football. And, for example, if you want to play long balls or you need to play in behind, I think it's good to have another type of number 9 on the bench as an option because Jesus is more like a false 9. He floats in between. I feel like you need a plan B kind of number 9. Who else? And then Chelsea need to stop spending. And then
Chelsea alone.
you guys need to stop spending.
I'm
and
gonna...
then who else? Liverpool, man. We need 3 or 4 midfielders. Hopefully McAllister.
He's going.
You think so? Yeah, hopefully McAllister, and then
that would be nice.
That'd be a good move. And then who else? Let me see. Yeah, Man United, I think need a 9 as well. Some midfield depth. And yeah, that's what I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah.
All right, Aldo.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna talk about Chelsea and Chelsea only. Unfortunately, we could talk about Kane. You guys can talk about Osimhen, but the player I really, really want in my roster is Julian Alvarez.
Wow.
I really, really would love to have that man in my roster. I'm sorry, because first of all, he's young. Unlike Harry Kane. Osimhen is relatively young, but Alvarez is younger. I would like to get rid of a bunch of those dead woods in my roster.
How can you do that when they have 9-year contracts?
Right.
Hold on. We can loan them out, sell them out for cheap. Get rid of Pulisic. Get rid of a bunch Broha, Aubameyang. That's enough. That's enough to get Alvarez. The reason why I'm saying Alvarez is because 1, he's a honestly, I think he has the capability of almost reaching that level of the Aguero type level. That's how good he is. He works hard. He's a hard working striker. It showed that in the World Cup and the World Cup final. So he was their best attacking player besides Messi that at that World Cup. And he's relatively young, and I'm sure in the next couple of years, if he's still at City, he's gonna get tired of being on the bench. We already know Holland is an automatic starter. So at some point, he's gonna get tired, and at some point, Chelsea's gonna need a striker. And I think that's the guy we need to go for. Get rid of a bunch of the players on that roster: Gallagher, Pulisic, Broha, Aubameyang. Pretty much, I would get rid of at least 8 players. So get rid of all of them. Get rid of all of them. And then we need to get a bunch of new players in. But the one player that I think we need to focus on is getting, like I said, Alvarez and pinning down João Felix.
See how that goes.
He's on loan. He's still on loan.
Who?
You want to sign him?
Yeah, I like him. He's been playing. He's been performing.
Performing? I didn't know about that.
For sure.
Yeah, we'll for sure see how that goes. Yeah, you guys for sure need to clear up some cap space.
Hey,
for sure.
Cap space.
We're going to move on to the next one. Is it time for the older generation of the current Real Madrid team to move on? Now let Oswald start with this. What do you think?
For certain, man. I mean, like I said last time, I told you guys in the last episode that if Jude Bellingham comes in this team, he's going to automatically start and dispose of Modric. That performance from Modric against City showed his age. It really showed his age. The man is pretty much gone. Toni Kroos, get rid of pretty much half of them. Like you said, Mendy. I don't know. I think you can keep Mendy. You can keep Mendy as a backup left back. He just brings a different style of play to that Madrid team. Carvajal's old as what? Who else is Modric, Carvajal, Toni Kroos, Benzema, you can keep him. I would say keep Benzema. Keep Benzema on that roster. But just for experience purposes. I mean, of course, he's still the reigning Ballon d'Or winner. We can't, dispute the fact that. And who else? Who else is on that roster? That's pretty much the players that I would think they need to go. They might have to sign like two more central midfielders, and I don't see Mbappe ever coming into that Madrid anytime soon. They need some, like you said, they need someone like a Harry Kane, a proper number 9 in that roster. They need someone like that.
All right, Cliff.
They, like Anu said before, they need to cover a whole lot of positions, which it's kind of weird because I'm starting to think about some of the moves that they've made earlier, and the opportunities that they've had to like either keep or sign some young talent, because I remember they still had Hakimi on loan from Dortmund. And he came back, and then they immediately, or I think it was from Inter, and then he came back, and they immediately sold him to PSG, either PSG or I mean either Inter or Dortmund. And then also selling Odegaard, after his loan spell too. I feel like they've had the opportunities to do it, but I feel like they've just been too. Enamored with some players like Danny Carvajal. I don't know why I've expected him to leave for like 4 or 5 years. I've expected him to be gone. I don't know why he's still on this team. It's really weird. It's really weird. But yeah, he has to be gone. Modric is a tough one because we see what he's done in the
Yeah.
World Cup. He was amazing in the World Cup. We saw what he did last year. That comeback that they had against this same city was mostly due to uh, Modric and Camavinga too, and Rodrigo. But Modric still has a little bit to offer, probably next season, and then afterwards, we can start talking about letting him retire. Um, Cruz is still relatively young. I think he's like what 31,
He's
32,
like 34, so 35.
34? No, I thought he was younger.
30.
32, right?
He's like 33 or 34. One of the two.
I thought he was much younger than that. But um, they still have a lot of players that they need to replace. Benzema, of course, but you're kind of running out of time to replace these players. If Mbappe doesn't come and replaces Benzema, who is there? Who is going to be that next guy? And honestly, I don't think Mbappe comes this summer because PSG is not going to sell him. The year after that, it's getting tricky. So Madrid have to make their moves quick, and that's really all I can say about that.
All right, I know.
Yeah, I definitely believe it's time to move on. Like, clearly, I think a lot, I think it hit for a lot of people yesterday, but for me, it showed throughout the season. Like, the La Liga season is 38 games, and clearly Madrid, like they might even finish third, which is embarrassing. Like, in my opinion, like this Barcelona team is never that good,
Yeah.
and like it just shows the Madrid players can't keep the consistency for 38 games. Even their Champions League run last year, which was amazing, but like man, there was a lot of luck involved too. Yeah, like for example, I believe if you're gonna bring in Jude Bellingham, if you have Tchouaméni, which you spent 80 million for, and he's just riding the bench, that doesn't make sense to me. It's time to start letting them, what I'm saying, experience football and play, because you can't just keep on hanging on to, oh, it's fine, we'll just win the Champions League next year. Like, eventually you got to start preparing for the future. And I believe Perez, the owner, for example, he bought Endrick, the kid from Palmeiras, for 60 something million. When you have deficiencies in the current squad, they have this obsession with all these Brazilian young talents. Like Carvalho is like, well, 35, he's been there for how many years? Like, and then wait, because Carvalho, it's a great thing. He's very durable, but your backup right back is Lucas Vasquez. Like, that doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah.
When you're Real Madrid, like what I'm saying, probably the most famous team in the world. Then you have, Ferland Mendy. You only have one left back basically, like, and then you have one striker, one left back, one right back, and then the midfield Cruz. I really believe it's just time to start moving out. I think they need to be transparent with them. I believe they need a new manager as well. I feel like Ancelotti should just go to the Brazilian national team and they get someone new, maybe Julian Nagelsmann or someone like that. Because if you're bringing in Jude Bellingham, if your plan is Jude Bellingham, Camavinga, and Tchouaméni, it's going to be very tough to tell Cruz, Modric to sit on the bench, And then even Valverde, who I think is an amazing player, I have a hard time to see where he's going to play in the future, because he plays makeshift right wing, right center mid. But is he better in center mid long term than Jude Bellingham? I don't think so. Is he better than Tchouaméni or Camavinga in midfield long term as a maybe same pivot? I don't believe so. So there's a lot of things they need to address, and I think they need to address it sooner rather than later. So yeah.
It's interesting that you bring up Valverde, because I actually think he's good enough to fight it out for that midfield role. But it's so tough when you're going up against three of the best young talents that we have right now in Camavinga, Bellingham, if they sign him, and Tchouaméni. So do you think that if he doesn't play, do you think that they're gonna do you think that he's gonna leave, or you think that he'll just ride the bench, or do you think he'll stay at right wing?
That's a tough one. Like, depends, because he's not very effective at right wing. He's a workhorse, so I would want him in midfield, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the issue. Like, it's literally pass to Vinny and pray, because the right side is nothing much going on there, you know. So, for example, if you want to play a double pivot with Camavinga and Tchouaméni, and then maybe you have Bellingham as the 10 kind of, that would work. But then you could also do Tchouaméni as a 6, and then Valverde on the right side midfield, and then you could have Bellingham on the left side, but then Camavinga will be on the bench. So I think it will be very tough competition. But as you saw yesterday, Valverde is not really a ticket, passing, control the game midfielder. He's more high energy, high pace. So I feel like you could maybe also adapt to different teams that you're playing against.
See, when I look at that Madrid midfield, there's a player that just stands out to me. Camavinga. He has that. He just has what it takes at the moment to just cement, this is my position amongst the young players between that Valverde, Tchouaméni, and those three midfielders. Amongst those three guys, I think he's the one guy that should be starting pretty much all the time. And Tchouaméni is one of those, like, Tchouaméni and Valverde are in between, but I just think that Tchouaméni is a lot more technically gifted than Valverde. Like Anu said, while Valverde, he's a workhorse. He's the one player that you need in your roster. Everyone needs a Valverde in your roster. He just comes in and then changes the game. When I watch him, he needs some really technically gifted midfielders around him to make him look like a world-class player. Mm-hmm. That's the type of player he comes off to me as. If you bring in Jude Bellingham, having Camavinga and Tchouaméni, he's gonna look a lot better in a three-man system. It's in between Camavinga, Bellingham, and him. He would look really good amongst those three guys. So it's a debate between those three guys. If you bring in Bellingham, who's gonna play and who's not gonna play? You get what I'm saying? It's gonna make it difficult.
I feel like Camavinga has also a lot of areas to improve. Like, for example, yesterday he was getting exposed because Bernardo Silva cut off the line where he likes to play all the time with his left foot, and he couldn't play the inside channel pass to Cruz because he has no right foot. So I don't think it's set in stone that he's a guaranteed midfielder for the next 10 years in that Real Madrid team.
See, let's not forget he's a center midfielder though.
Yeah,
he's not left back.
Even in center mid, I feel like he's way too one-footed. Like, I don't know.
I know what you mean.
I feel like he's way too one-footed.
Nah, it makes sense though. I mean, I understand what you mean.
I think Camavinga kind of is more of he does very exceptionally well both going forward and defensive.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call it box to box because it's not box to box, but it's like he's a workhorse, but he's a workhorse that can provide good efficiency, like going up front too. So it's a weird, but I understand. Like Camavinga is and Tchouaméni too. That's why I don't know if Bellingham is the most pressing need. I don't think they have a lot more pressing needs than center midfield because of Camavinga and Valverde and Tchouaméni. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it seems like Real they need to make a significant amount of improvements to their squad. But we're gonna move on to our last question for today's podcast, and this question is the topic of Manchester City. If Pep Guardiola wins a treble, is this Manchester City team the best England team of all time? Anu, what do you think?
That's a tough one. That's a very tough one. This current team, right?
This current team. I would even say it could be an argument. We could have said the team 4 years ago when we won the 4 domestic titles, but
because the way I see it, like, that Centurion team was really good.
Yeah.
That Centurion team was really good because I don't believe the competition in the Champions League this year has been all that, Okay, greatest team of all time. Man, that's a tough one. I think they'll have to be definitely top three. But I'll put the Centurion team when they had Sane and Sterling and Gabriel Jesus. I think that team was really, and then you had David Silva and De Bruyne. I think that team was really, really good. But man, the game I watched yesterday, I couldn't believe my eyes, like what they were doing to Real Madrid. So, and this new formation with the right back, I've never seen that before, and it's really good because you have a box in midfield, and they just and Rodri is really good, world class. Yeah, I'll say so because they're playing football I've never seen before in my life, except from that 2011 Barcelona team. I'm 21. They're the best footballing team I've seen with my two eyes. So, in terms of Premier League, yeah, I'll say, yeah, probably the best team ever in the Premier League. I'll say all time, I'll say second to that 2011 Barcelona team. But yeah, probably yeah.
All right, Oswald.
I would certainly say that this Man City team is easily the best team England has ever seen.
Easily. I don't know what easily.
I don't know what easily.
I think so. Easily. How can you have a player like Mahrez on the bench?
Yeah. It's crazy.
You have players like Mahrez on the bench, Phil Foden on the bench. Players would pretty much start in 9 times Alvarez.
Yeah.
You have players like that on your roster on the bench. Those players would easily start in 9 out of 10 teams in the world right now, in each positions. So the style of play, the way they dominate the game, the amount of goals they're scoring. Come on. What are we saying, bro?
I mean, even if you look at the game yesterday, like Anu said, like even me, like I've never seen like anybody do that. Like we're talking about Real Madrid. I've never seen anyone do that to Real Madrid. Like they made them look like, they were like Nottingham Forest or, Sheffield Wednesday or something, like that was, insane, what they did. Like you said, like, and also like the new formation as well. Like they couldn't really like the whole first half, Real Madrid didn't like string together 5 passes.
Yep.
Like at all. Like they didn't have the ball. Anytime they got the ball, you can just see like the cohesion with everybody was working. Everybody was pressing. And they were just winning it back. And if they weren't winning it back, themselves from tackles, they were making them make mistakes.
Yep.
Like a team like Real Madrid, to see them they're kicking the ball out, missing passes. I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah. And it seemed like I was telling this to my brother all the time, like when teams play against Man City, it looks like there's no space on the pitch. Like when they give the ball away, it's like there's no space. Like even the game against Arsenal when they destroyed Arsenal the other day, like they didn't know who to pass it to. Like the way they positioned the way Pep positions the team in the opposition half, and then when they get the ball now, the pitch looks huge. Like it's infinite. Like the tactics are just crazy. Like from Pep, like
it's like there's space everywhere when we have the ball. Like
when they didn't have the ball, Madrid, like where do we pass it? Like there's no one open.
It's crazy. You can see it too. Like when Madrid got the ball, you can literally just see like there was nowhere for them to go. No. There was no breaking that press.
Thanks.
I was at work watching the game on my phone. I'm like, bro, like this is like insane, bro. Like the possession was ridiculous, bro. This one had to be like 90-10 possession.
First few minutes. They said yesterday Madrid had 13 passes in the first 25 minutes or so.
Crazy.
Completed. Real Madrid.
He pressed, and I think the adjustments he made too from the first leg, it was a completely different approach kind of thing. A lot more control over the game they had. I think Pep is the best manager ever, man.
Yeah. What do you think, Cliff?
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. I was trying to think of a team that Premier League wise that I've seen that could compete with this Man City team, and it's hard. The closest I can get is like the Manchester United team with Tevez and Ronaldo and and Rooney. But even then, like they struggled against Chelsea. It's hard because in terms of on paper, they have talent everywhere. And when you watch them, they can beat you by passing, dribbling around you, or they can what they did to Arsenal, kind of like on the counter, and then like it was literally just De Bruyne and Haaland just playing between themselves and scoring against Arsenal, just breaking them down. So they can beat you in multitudes of ways. They have probably the best striker that the Premier League has ever seen, and I don't. It's hard. It's hard to say that another team is better than them when they've proven it on the pitch and they have the stars and like you said, they're keeping players like Mahrez and Julian Alvarez on the bench. So it has to be this team.
Laporte.
And the thing is, they're just going to get better because players like ours are, in the first year of the Premier League, and it's going to be, and that's why I always say, like, this is turning into a farmers league. If like Newcastle doesn't do anything to stop it, or Manchester United, or Chelsea, or Liverpool, then it's gonna be getting bad quickly. Next year I see them winning the Premier League again. That's gonna be 4 years in a row. 4 years in a row.
But just for argument's sake, what other team do you see, like outside of the Premier League, from history, that kind of stacks up, or would you put up there with this team?
Yeah, I think the Barcelona 2011 team is the best team I've ever watched, ever. Even I think they're better than this team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the way they dismantled Manchester United, which was the best team. We thought that game was going to be really competitive. It really wasn't. We dominated them, and it was a 3-1 victory, but it should have been more. The goals that we scored against were just amazing. So I think, and those teams are Pep's teams, so big up to Pep, man. He knows how to play beautiful football.
Yeah. He knows how to put a team together.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like, you see how he said, he knows how to put a team together. Okay, for example, Newcastle, they have these owners who are worth like 400 billion. But for the time it would take to buy players, and Oswald knows firsthand how difficult it is to sign a lot of players and get them to mix to the team. So like for the next 3 years, I think City have the Premier League title in their hands. Like, I just can't see anybody coming close because the time it takes you. For example, you see how like players like Grealish take to adapt. If Newcastle to buy a bunch of players, it'll take time to adapt. I just don't feel like there's the players. You can always talk about spend money. I just don't feel like there's the players out there to put in a team in the Premier League that can beat this Manchester City team over a 38-game season in the next 5 years. Honestly,
I think the closest team that, the last team that did it, Liverpool, they had to build up to that crescendo that they had that year that they beat City, and even then it was kind of close. I believe, like, they were battling it out. They got there. They won the Champions League. The year before, they lost.
Yes,
it's always been close.
It was a runaway for Liverpool that season.
Okay, yeah, it was a runaway.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, but still, they had to build up to it. It wasn't like, oh, Jurgen Klopp came the first year or second year. I think they won it in 2019. They won it. They won in 2019.
2 years ago. So 2020, 21.
Yeah.
Season.
They won the Champions League.
2019.
They won the Champions League 3 years ago, Liverpool, I believe. I think that was it.
Four.
I think it was 2019.
Oh, okay. 2019. Oh.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's going to take a while, and even for Liverpool to do it again, they would have to. You see them selling their players now. Chamberlain is gone, Milner's gone, players like that are gone. So they have to start building back up again. So it's going to take another at least 2 years. Salah's at nearing the end of his career. What's his name? Sane is gone. So, Mane is gone. So, yeah, it's going to take.
He might come back. He's leaving Bayern.
That's what I was gonna ask. I was like, do you guys see Mane coming back?
I could.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see him going to Arsenal or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it will make sense.
To play where?
Left wing. Arsenal needs depth. Martinelli is not. It's not. You know, he needs competition. He needs. Trossard is good competition, but come on, you can put Martinelli at strike. You got Mane, who's a proven Premier League player, a player that's one top goal scorer in the league.
Why do you think it didn't work out for him at Bayern?
I don't think it didn't work out for him. I just think that the injuries, too many injuries, and they forced him to come back early before the World Cup. That World Cup one was the main one that probably, extended his injury because Senegal was trying to get their best player to be on the pitch, probably their greatest player of all time to be on the pitch. So he needed to be there. So they had to speed up the process for him to be able to play. So unfortunately, that injury just kept going, prolonged on, and it just made it worse for him.
Yeah.
I don't think he had a bad season. He scored 12 goals in 30-some games. That's not bad for a winger. It's not a bad that's not a bad record for a winger.
I wanted the opposite to happen. I wanted Sane to leave, and I wanted him to come back to Manchester.
He going nowhere.
Sane, that man was my favorite player on the team, man. Sane on Manchester City, doing better than he is on Bayern right now. That man was cooking for coming off the bench sometimes.
That ship is sailed, man.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. He wanted to be in Germany, but his girl wants to be in England. That's the thing. That's the funny thing. His girl and his family, they want him to come back to England.
You don't like England?
I think his girlfriend, they live in England because she doesn't want to go to Germany.
Understandable.
That's crazy.
Which is interesting. So, I'll monitor that situation. And
all right, Fabrizio.
But yeah, I think it's gone. I think the relationship with him and Pep, especially after he left, I don't think it's the same.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't too satisfied with coming off the bench. He didn't really he wasn't really completely bought into what Pep does,
Yep.
with his team. Any given day, anybody can start.
Yep.
With Pep, and he just wanted just a straight play, but
he could join Arsenal or Manchester United, or Liverpool. Or Liverpool.
He could go to Liverpool.
He could go to Liverpool. He would start at Liverpool. Salah can go up top. He can go to the left wing.
How old is he now? 29?
27 or 28.
He's still relatively young.
Yeah, it should be like 27 or 28.
Let me see.
But he's still but yeah, I think he wants to wants to be in Germany.
He's 28, right?
He's turning 28 this summer.
Yeah. He's not best. He's still relatively he's at a prime age.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's going to do it for us today, guys. I want to give thanks to everybody, all our viewers, also, the crew for their input today. Please drop us a follow on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter under the name The Offsides Zone. Please like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. We discuss new topics weekly pertaining to the world of football. In the comment section, please let us know if you think this Manchester City side is the best team England has seen. As always, everyone, please stay safe, stay blessed, and see you guys in the next video.